So you want to write a book. You want to write a book. Almost everybody who can read and write at some time during their life wants to write a book. Do you? If you do, why haven't you done it? Why? It's never been easier. Never been easier to write a book and to self-publish and to have it put out on various websites today. It's never been easier. Can you imagine what it was like way, way back when people used to write with pen and ink and quill, feathers that had to be sharpened, dipped in ink, and handwritten laboriously? No way to duplicate them. Even when I started creative writing way back in the late 1960s, it was a different ball game. There was no computers. You had a manual typewriter. You double-spaced the writing. You put sheets of carbon in between the papers so you could get a copy. And then once you'd been all the way through the book, the first draft, you then corrected it and typed up the second draft and then corrected that. It was so laborious compared with now. Now we have Word applications on computers. We can change and delete, input whole paragraphs so easily. So what's your excuse? Do you really want to write a book? I can recall way, way back when I first became interested in creative writing. I went along and did a course, just a few evenings, and coming home from that course one time, I was sitting at the railway station with a friend of mine who was also doing the course, and he was a better writer than me, more advanced. I was just starting off. And he said, Tom, if you want to be a writer, you've got to write. No good thinking about it. You've got to write every day. Every day, write something down until you get into the habit of writing, until you feel uneasy when you haven't written something. That's when you get the habit. That's when it grabs you. That's what you need to do. Get into the habit of writing every day. What you're going to write about? Well, that's up to you. But one thing, if you are a writer, it's a good idea to always have in your pocket a little notebook and a pen. If it's not in your pocket, have it by your bed. Have it somewhere handy. Because when you're a writer and you're thinking about something, in those quiet moments, your creativity will kick in. That's when you'll get further ideas what to put in the book. And there might be a certain phrase comes up, certain pattern of words which you like the sound of. Write them down. This way you will develop a colourful style. And remember, when you're writing, don't expect the first one to be really good, the first book. You might have to correct it. What you do then is you write the book, you read it through, you correct it as best you can, and you put it away. Now, in the old days, you'd put it in a bottom drawer somewhere and perhaps pull it out 6 months later when you could look at it with a more analytical and less subjective eye. Because the problem is when we create something, we hate to have to delete parts of it. We hate criticism. This is what we are, we say. This is what I am. So remember, to be objective rather than subjective, you need to be able to look at that manuscript some time later. Some of the books I've written were corrected down the years before they were actually put out in their final draft. You can't be impatient if you want to be a writer. Just work on it steadily. that first book, whatever it is. Practice also doing essays, describing how you think and feel about the world. This will make you better at writing that novel, that world-shaking masterpiece which you really want to write. Or maybe you just want to get something off your chest. Writing it out, putting it in the form of a story, a novel, using fictitious names when you're really talking about yourself. Lots of authors do that. You can do that. Makes you feel better. But creative writing, if you want to write a book, write every day until it becomes a habit. Keep a notebook handy. And always remember, you won't be an expert at the beginning. It's said that it takes a writer to write maybe 500,000 words. This is not necessarily in a story, but in essays, letters and so forth, before they develop their own style. Once you've developed your own style, you'll be able to sit down and write very smoothly and quickly. Put your thoughts on paper and do it so clearly that you can understand it, but more importantly, the reader can understand it. If you want to be a writer, write. Write every day. Write until it becomes a habit that you love to do.